Hello everybody, this is Renal from Financially Fit Life, and today I'm going to ask that question that is actually applicable to a lot of people, but it is also one of the biggest concerns that South Africans are facing. And that question is, are you living from paycheck to paycheck? Now, if you identify with this situation, it's not obviously not ideal, but it's not something to be ashamed of, since if you look at the stats, then the stats show that 77% of South Africans have no money left at the end of the month. So they are literally living from paycheck to paycheck, and they are only trying to survive up until month end when they get paid, and then they need to use that money to pay for expenses and debt that they've incurred in the past, and then they are building up some debt and expenses again up until they get to the next paycheck, and then use that again to pay for the previous month's expenses and debt. And the sad part about it is that in that scenario, it is just becoming worse all the time, because if something unforeseen happens or your expenses increase, people tend to need more and more debt to be able to get them through the month, and it is a very negative spiral that just goes downwards. And if you are in that situation, and like I said, many people are in that situation, but then a red flag needs to be raised, and you need to say to yourself, but I'm not comfortable in this position. I need to change this and make a better living for myself. I cannot continue in this position, because it will never get better unless you do something about it. The problem also with that situation is that there is no room for savings and investments, because you just don't have any money available that you can save and build up an investment portfolio. In that scenario, there is also no room for you to start building up an emergency fund and to start putting away money for those unforeseen circumstances that might occur and might get you into more financial trouble. And another thing is, you also don't have money available to pay additionally towards your debt and to reduce your debt. So that is a very negative situation to be in, and something that you want to look at as soon as possible if you can identify with what I've just said. Now, if you are in this situation, the first two things that you need to go back to and go look at and see how you can improve on those things is obviously to go and analyze your expenses and see where you can cut expenses. Where can you identify potential savings, or how can you reduce certain expenses or even cut out certain expenses completely. So very important, compile a budget, keep to that budget, and manage your expenses very effectively every month so that you know what is going on there, and try to see how you can improve on that situation. Now, unfortunately, you can also just reduce and cut expenses up until a certain extent, and then you get to a point where you can honestly no longer cut expenses any further. And that is where you need to start looking at the second point that I've mentioned, and that is to start thinking about how can you create more income for yourself. What are potential sources where you can create additional income? And that could be that maybe you have certain skills that you can apply to earn some additional money from. Maybe you can, in your spare time, start creating a business on the side. Maybe even things like multi-level marketing is quite often helping a lot of people to create an additional income source. Things like renting out a room in your house that you are not using is also a popular source of creating additional income. But like I said, if that situation applies to you where you are literally just trying to survive, please, I want to ask you to start today and think about what you can do to improve that situation. It is not the ideal situation to be in, and nobody wants to be in that situation, but sometimes it's because of certain circumstances or things that have happened that force you to be in that situation. But if you are in that situation, try to do something as quickly or as soon as possible to improve that situation. And I want to say to you, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. Never believe that your situation is so bad that you cannot do anything about it. You can do something about it. Just go and apply your mind or get some help from a professional person to get you out of that situation.